Let's get some other world news now and head to Sudan, where a week-long ceasefire is expected to come into force this evening. Previous such truces have failed to materialise, but the United States and Saudi Arabia say they're hopeful this deal will hold and allow urgently needed aid into the country. Well, let's get more then from our regional correspondent, Bastien Renouy. He's on the line for us now. Bastien, you've been speaking to Sudanese people who actually are not very confident that this ceasefire is going to hold. Explain to us why.
Hello, Nadia. Well, absolutely. Since the beginning of the fighting on the 15th of April, 7 ceasefires were announced and the 6 previous ones were not implemented. So most of my contacts in Khartoum are wondering what could be the difference with this one. Why would it finally work? Well, there are two small differences. It's the first time that both the Rapid Support Forces and the Sudanese military are meeting in person to sign a ceasefire. And that's also the first time that there is a joint monitoring mechanism led by the US and by Saudi Arabia that's going to verify the implementation of this ceasefire. But is it going to be enough? Probably not, according to civilians living in Sudan. You know that the army and the Rapid Support Forces both signed a commitment to respect humanitarian principles 10 days ago, and since then, well, they've still targeted civilians. In Khartoum, the Rapid Support Forces members are still hiding in civilian neighborhoods, looting houses, raping women, assaulting civilians, and the army is still bombing these neighborhoods. The army is still bombing hospitals currently occupied by the Rapid Support Forces. That's for the situation in Khartoum. Let's also mention what's happening in Darfur at the moment. There's been fighting and clashes between the army and the Rapid Support Forces in the city of Nyala during the past 3 days. Very intense fighting in this big city in central Darfur. And there's been clashes in the city of El Janina during the past week. Hundreds of civilians have been killed. The Rapid Support Forces and local militias are surrounding the city. Civilians cannot escape, and they are targeted by these militias. So you understand that both the army and the Rapid Support Forces are still targeting civilians. That's why many, do not have much hope about this new ceasefire, as more than 1 million people are already on the road in Sudan. More than 1 million people have been displaced, and many more are still stranded in the most affected areas.
Bastien Renouy, thank you very much indeed for that update on the situation on the ground in Sudan. It is perhaps worth mentioning as well that over in New York today, the UN Security Council is meeting to discuss the conflict in Sudan. The UN's envoy to the country, Volker Perth, is set to brief delegates on the humanitarian situation there pretty shortly.
There's another 3,500 civilians in